moving into the panhandle of Lancaster County towards Van Wyck, Indian Land, heading down into parts of central Lancaster County, eastern Chester, York, a small section of western Union County, and it's moving south pretty quickly. There are some really strong winds embedded in this cell. I'm going to stop the loop here just to show you where it is right now. And if you're in those areas, I probably don't have to tell you that it's coming down like crazy. But the big story is the wind. We have seen some really strong winds embedded in here. Right now, the radar is detecting 30 to 40 mile per hour winds within this cell. So right in this area, we're seeing winds close to 50, 55 miles per hour. Now that's where the radar is seeing them. There's clearly probably some stronger winds just off the surface as this is pushing through this area. In fact, when this passed over the airport, it produced a 61 mile per hour wind gust on the grounds of Charlotte Douglas International Airport. And I was tracking flights going into the airport at the time, and a Spirit Airlines flight was getting ready to land. And about 1,000 feet from the runway, it aborted its landing and just decided to take off. So it basically, just decided, heck, we're not going to try to even land there right now because it's too dangerous. And when you see these type of storms moving over airports, that's when you get, always nervous about these storms because they tend to produce what we call downbursts. And when you see these downbursts occur, these downbursts will crash aircraft. In fact, this happened all the time, pre Doppler radar at these airports. So this severe thunderstorm warning right now is up into basically the bottom of the hour for several counties. 6, 7 o'clock here next couple of minutes as these push off to the south and east. I likely would expect these would be extended to the south as the storm pushes in because most of Lancaster County is still going to be under this warning, and this warning is still 7:30 and 7:45. So the northern part of this warning is getting set to expire here shortly as this pushes to the south. Now, the good news in all this is the leading edge of the cooler, drier air. I mean, you look at the visible satellite image, that is really the only storm in town right now. And we showed you earlier on the Dallas camera from Dallas looking back to the west, you can actually see the storm. Let me grab my cursor here. So what you're seeing right here, this is the rainbow and rain shaft, but you see the top? That's the updraft going up in this storm. So that's topping out probably around 30,000 feet. And we can actually take a look at the radar to give us an idea on how tall that storm is. So let's go right into the radar, and I'm going to stop this right here. And one of the tools we have, we call it Doppler slicer. It's just a fancy name for a cross section of the storm. So we'll do a quick cross section of the storm right there just to see how tall it actually is. And you can see almost 30,000, so a little bit lower than I expected. Probably, let me slide this back and forth there to see if there are any higher points in there. Nope. Well, there it is. It is up to about 40,000 feet. So that's that overshooting top. I was thinking it was at least 35,000 feet from that camera. So you can see that that's over central panhandle of Lancaster County. So the top of that storm right now is getting close to 40,000 feet. So what happens in these storms, the reason we see the downburst, the winds get pulled up high into the storm. Up here, the temperature is below 0 Celsius. That's really cold air. That air comes crashing back to the ground as a downburst because cold air is heavy and dense and it wants to sink to the ground. And when that gets to the ground, you end up seeing these winds that we're going to show you right here. I'll show you these wind speeds that we're seeing. So there's the downburst now. It's basically 521. This looks to be not too far from Carolina Lakes area. Sun City Boulevard's right there. So just south of Sun City, heading south towards the city of Lancaster. So there's Sun City right there on 521. So that just blew through Sun City right now with some really strong winds. I'm actually going to check some of my spotters. I got quite a few people that follow us down there. Just had a hail report come in from Fort Mill. So there's been some hail in there. I think getting up to 40,000 feet definitely would produce some hail. Let's see, looking at some other damage reports here from across the area. Pretty strong winds, nothing too crazy. Most of what I'm seeing are strong winds, and then the storm moves on fairly quickly. So let's go back to the radar. And there's the warnings till 7:30 now for Lancaster County. And again, that's the only cell really out there. There's a little shower trying to pop up near Chesterfield along Highway 9, but this is the main action. This storm, again, earlier produced some small hail there in the Fort Mill area, and I'll actually highlight that. There's the Fort Mill hail report. We'll remove that. There is some damage over here in Lake Wylie around 6 o'clock. Power lines and trees down near Innsbrook Court and Boulder Road. So if you live in that area, if you're wondering where the power's out, and then look at the airport. There's the airport report we just got a little bit ago. And thank goodness, man, that there was a ground stop. But that was a 61-mile-per-hour wind gust reported from the ASOS, which is the automated reporting station out there on the runways. That's the thing that takes the temperature and wind speed every day out the airport's out in a big field in between two of the big runways out there. So that's a really strong wind gust at the airport. And thank goodness there was no aircraft trying to land at that time. So let's go back to the view of this storm from our camera. And again, in the foreground here, just to give you some highlights, that is Spencer Mountain, beautiful rainbow there. That is Charlotte right there. That's the skyline of Charlotte. So we're looking back towards Lake Wylie in Lancaster County, and there's the top of that storm. And again, we just saw that's about 40,000 feet right there. That storm is up there at 40,000 feet. So we're up here at 1450, but that's 40,000 foot. So that's the overshooting tower coming out of that storm as we look back towards the east with that storm. So really, really impressive thunderstorm moving through that area. Let's go back and take a look at the storm one more time. And I want to do an updated storm track for this because everyone else who's experienced, you've already seen what's happening, but there's folks that are wondering, what's heading their way. And again, if you don't see your city or town on this map, it's not heading your way. So don't worry about it if you're in cities that aren't listed here or on the map. So this is where it's heading. We'll kind of track it to the southeast. Foster's Crossroad. Let me drag this up here, be easier. Lansford, Lancaster County Airport there. The city of Lancaster, Fort Lawn, Douglas, Belltown, Kirk Air Base. Actually, where that's pretty far south there. I know where that's at. Heath Springs area around 5 or 7:52, right close around 8 o'clock or so. And then Stoneboro around 7:57. So again, plus or minus about 5 minutes on these. Remember, the times aren't supposed to be exact. Precision and accuracy aren't the same thing. Just because we give you those exact time, that's a general time. So the storm could speed up, slow down, kind of change state a little bit. But that gives you a rough idea of where it's going. So anybody else out there who's watching the stream, I haven't jumped into the comments yet. If you're north, there's nothing. If you're east, there's nothing. If there's west, there's nothing. So it's really just south of this storm. So again, oftentimes when I do the live streams and we're tracking storms and people ask me about cities, towns, whatever, if it's not in the view of this map, then this storm is not going to be impacting you because it's moving south too. So if you're north of it, then this storm is not going to affect you. Now over to the west, you may be in the clear, but you see that outflow boundary? That little outflow boundary right in there, let me grab my telestrator here real quickly. This outflow boundary, that's the rush of cool air. That's traveling south. So you might get a brief, what feels like a gust of wind out of nowhere. That's the rush of cool air coming out of that storm. And actually the cold front, because this looks to me to be the main cold front right here. The one that came through this morning knocked an edge off the humidity and heat. This next one is the real deal. In fact, let's look at the temperatures real quickly. Behind this, you can see we're obviously rain cooled 74, but even in sunshine to the north, well, we've only have 70s, but more importantly, the dew points are what I watch. Dew points have dropped into the low 60s north. Now, Lincolnton's weird 70. I think that's just because they had rain recently, but dew points are falling pretty quickly to the north. So you're not really feeling the really, really dry air, and probably till you wake up tomorrow. It's definitely noticeably cooler out there and drier, but it's not the really great feeling air. That's going to move in overnight into early tomorrow morning. So for folks down in Lancaster County, be on guard for this storm until it moves through. Yeah, a lot of rainbow pictures now coming in from across the area. Several people seeing the rainbows because this storm is all by itself. I'll show you the rainbow from our camera. The sun is setting on it right now, giving us a spectacular view off towards the east. That storm is moving away, and now the sun is out over in Gaston County. So beautiful view out there. I'll keep an eye on these storms for the rest of the evening. For most of you, this is just going to be a brief gust of wind, downpour, some lightning, and then it's gone, and the rest of the evening will be fine. Of course, if you see anything that you can safely show me, reports of damage, hail, anything like that, please send the picture to me, WX Brad on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or if you have our Charlotte news app, WCNC app, you go to the Near Me feature, you can send it to me right away and we'll get it right on the air. But for now, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, go back to the severe thunderstorm warnings, which are in effect until 7:30, bottom of the hour. Those storms are basically, that one lone storm, I should say, is moving into Lancaster County. The warning for Union, York, and Chester is till 7:45, but it's essentially the same storm. You got two different forecast offices issuing that, so a little bit of a cooperation there with the time. It's just off by 15 minutes, but really not a big deal. I think 7:30 is probably a good bet there, more than 7:45, because that thing's hauling now. It looks like it's picking up speed as it's traveling towards Lancaster, Great Falls, and Heath Springs. Heads up down there. Strong damaging winds, brief heavy rain, and obviously cloud to ground lightning. Have a great night, everybody.